Now, for the past 3 days, we've been closely following the terror attacks in France and in Paris. Upwards of 16 people have died since Wednesday. So for some context and what we can learn from this, I'm joined now by Rick Mathews, the director of the National Center for Security and Preparedness at UAlbany. Rick, we have 3 suspects dead, 1 on the run, a national terror attack in France that has really crippled that country for a few days. What's your take on what's happening here?
Well, this is kind of a complex attack. We've seen bad guys, terrorists that appear to be trained, well prepared, were very methodical in how they made the attacks. Those aren't good things for us, but that's what they did, and that tells us that they probably did receive some training somewhere. That morphed into ultimately them taking some hostages in a secondary area. You saw the French security forces then coordinate their attacks against the takedown of that group and the other terrorists at the same time, and ultimately bring it to a conclusion. Looks like it's a pretty well-planned terrorist attack that could occur anywhere in the world the way it was carried out.
It is a little frightening to see it's not just one person picking this up on their own. We saw, and we just confirmed it within the last, I think, hour or two, that there's an al-Qaeda branch in Yemen that's taking responsibility for this now. It's a frightening thought.
Well, it is. I mean, and you have people there that were from that country. Obviously, they've been trained. We said they were very motivated. They operated very disciplined, very methodically, almost like a military unit. It is very scary.
You have the FBI now working with French law enforcement to try to lend a helping hand, help in whatever way they can. The FBI also warning law enforcement in the U.S. just to kind of be guarded as they go through this process. What can the U.S. take away from this attack and this style of attack?
Well, first of all, this is an attack that we've been planning for. We've been preparing for in the United States on how to respond to such a thing. After Mumbai in 2008, we've been watching this and watching how terrorists can plan and carry this out. Here was another one of these. So I think that we take from this that it tells us it can occur anywhere. It can occur, this was a very soft target. It can occur at any time. And again, it didn't require a lot of sophistication, a lot of heavy weapons, things like that. Very relatively simple attack with pretty devastating consequences.
This is kind of the new wave of terror, the new face of terror, attacking the people who attack the terrorists through media. I know there was even a TV station, I think, down in Maryland yesterday, and their Twitter account was hacked. Obviously a much smaller scale here, but are we starting to see this evolve now?
Well, I don't know. I mean, you see this happen. If it happens again, we'd say, yeah, we see a new wave of it. But clearly, this was an attack against what they believe was an organization that was against them. They didn't like what the press wrote, and they attacked them very deliberately. Interestingly, again, in this attack, they didn't go after everybody else. They didn't just shoot a lot of folks everywhere randomly. They were focused, very definitely looking for certain targets, if you will, and carried that out. That's more scary sometimes than watching people just open fire among a crowd of people.
And it really did cripple the country, or at least the Paris area, for a few days now, and the information is still coming in. Any last thoughts on what's happening here and what France can even learn from this?
Well, France can learn like we learned here in Boston. I mean, here we saw a similar thing. 2 bad guys carried on attack, ran ahead. You saw Boston shut down. We see Paris shut down for that. I think the rest of us in the country look at that and say, you know, we need to think about this. How do we respond to this? How do we then carry on the rest of it? How do we root these guys out later? It did. It shut down a city and, for the most part, a country over there. Very scary.
All right, we'll continue to keep an eye on it. Rick Mathews, thanks so much for joining us. We'll be right back.